I found out my son-in-law was cheating 4 weeks after I paid $52,000 for his wedding. 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Email from Lenora Hastings, my dead wife's best friend. Subject line: Thaddeus, I'm sorry you have to see this. 4 photos, high resolution. Time stamped September 14th, 2024. Dashiell Vale, my daughter's husband of 28 days, with his tongue down another woman's throat. Hotel parking lot, room 314 at the Meridian downtown. The wedding had been August 17th. Perfect ceremony. 300 guests. Constance looked radiant in her $4,800 dress. Dashiell gave a speech about family values that got a standing ovation. I'd believed every word. My name is Thaddeus Whitmore. I'm 67 years old. I've outlived my wife, my business partner, and apparently my usefulness as a father. This is the story of how my daughters turned me into an ATM machine, and how I shut down their accounts forever. Some call it family drama. I call it justice. 40 years of sawdust and steel shavings. That's what built Reynolds Hardware. Not luck, not inheritance, just a man's 2 hands and a belief that hard work mattered. But somewhere along the way, my daughters stopped seeing the man behind the work. They only saw the wallet, and I let them. Let me back up. August 17th, 2024, Constance's wedding day. My eldest daughter, Constance Whitmore Vale, 36 years old. Marketing director with an $85,000 salary and a taste for things she couldn't afford. She married Dashiell Vale in a ceremony that cost me $52,000. Venue at Harbor Springs Country Club, imported flowers, open bar that burned through 12 cases of top-shelf whiskey, live band until 2 a.m. Dad, this is my dream wedding, Constance had said 6 months earlier. Dashiell and I want to start our marriage, right? But with the house down payment and my student loans. She didn't finish. She didn't need to. I wrote the check. The wedding was beautiful. Dashiell's speech about family values made people cry. We collected $48,000 in wedding gifts. Constance had me help deposit them into her convenient joint account she'd opened 2 months earlier. 2 weeks after the wedding, Constance called. Dad, there's a beautiful craftsman in Laurel Heights. We need help with the down payment. Just $35,000. We'll pay you back once Dashiell's stock options vest. I hesitated. For the first time in my life, I hesitated. Constance, I just paid for your wedding. I know, Dad. We're so grateful. But this is an investment in our future. Don't you want to see us settled? I wanted to say no. I wanted to ask why $48,000 in wedding gifts wasn't enough. I wanted to ask why a 36-year-old woman with a good job needed her father to bankroll her life. But I didn't. Because 5 years ago, my wife Eloise died of breast cancer. In her last weeks, she'd made me promise to take care of our girls. I sent the $35,000. September 2024. My other daughter comes home. Margot Whitmore, 29. No job, no direction. Just Silas Brennan, a man with dead eyes who looked at me like I was an ATM with legs. Dad, I need to move back in, just until I figure things out. Figure what out? My career, my life, everything. Margot, you're 29. I know how old I am, Dad. Are you seriously going to lecture me right now? Mom would have understood. She knew exactly which button to push. Margot moved into the master suite, Eloise's room. Didn't ask, just took it, said the light was better for her photography. Silas moved in 2 weeks later. 3.5 years of temporary, 3.5 years of excuses, 3.5 years of me telling myself it would end. Silas Brennan, 35 years old, unemployed, a man who ate my food, used my Wi-Fi, and criticized my choice of beer. September 19th, 2024, the night everything changed. That Tuesday night, 11:47 p.m., I opened Lenora's email. 4 photographs. Dashiell Vale pressed against a blonde woman in a red dress, his hands on her waist, her hands in his hair, the kind of kiss that doesn't leave room for interpretation. The fourth photo showed them entering room 314. I sat there for 20 minutes. The laptop screen dimmed twice. I didn't move. 40 years, I whispered to the empty office. 40 years I've been building something, proving that hard work mattered, that integrity mattered. Outside my window, the maple trees swayed. The same trees Eloise and I planted 35 years ago when we bought this house. Back then, we believed we were building something permanent, a legacy, a family that would honor what we'd sacrificed. I was wrong. I looked at our wedding photo on the desk. Eloise in her lace dress, smiling like springtime in 1985. She'd been a high school teacher, patient, wise, the kind of woman who understood that love without boundaries was just another word for enabling. "You tried to tell me," I said to the photograph. "You tried to warn me about spoiling them." I remembered her words from the hospital, 2 weeks before she died. "Thaddeus, I'm worried about the girls. They've never had to struggle. Not really. Please, don't let your love for them become their destruction." I hadn't understood then. I understand now. That night, I didn't sleep. I went down to the garage and stood among the tools that had been my companions for 40 years. The worn handle of my framing hammer, the ancient table saw, the smell of motor oil and sawdust soaked into concrete. This was my legacy, not the money, this work, this persistence, this refusal to quit. But my daughters never saw that. They only saw what I could give them. Eloise had said, "Love without boundaries is just fertilizer for weeds." I'd raised 2 weeds. Beautiful, entitled weeds who'd learned that tears could unlock their father's wallet. This wasn't about money. This was about respect, about dignity, about the fundamental contract that says, "I raised you, and in return, you owe me the truth." But Constance helped Dashiell lie. She took my $52,000, smiled at the wedding, and she must have known. The Stoics believed character reveals itself not in anger, but in response to injustice. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." I would not be insane. I would not be a doormat. I would be methodical. Monday, September 23rd, I made the call. Beaumont Keller, attorney at law. Beaumont Keller was 55, silver-haired, the best family law attorney in the county. He'd handled Eloise's estate planning. "Beaumont, it's Thaddeus Whitmore. I need an appointment, today if possible." "Of course. Is everything all right?" "No." His office smelled like leather and old law books. I laid out everything: the wedding, the $52,000, the $35,000 down payment demand, the photos of Dashiell, Margot, and Silas living in my master bedroom. "Jesus, Thad," Beaumont said. "When you said you needed help, I thought you were talking about a property dispute. What are my options?" He leaned back. "Several. But first we protect your assets. If you're planning action against your daughters, they might retaliate by claiming early inheritance rights. We need an irrevocable trust immediately." "Explain." "An irrevocable trust removes assets from your personal ownership and places them under a trustee's management. You can't change it once established, but neither can your heirs contest it. You designate beneficiaries, charities, organizations, whoever you choose. Not my daughters. Not your daughters," he confirmed. "I'll draft the paperwork. We can execute it by Thursday. But Thad, are you sure?" I looked at him. "Beaumont, have you ever spent 40 years building something, only to realize the people you built it for don't even see you as a person?" He didn't answer. "I'm sure." Wednesday, September 25th, the trust was finalized. 60% of my assets, approximately $720,000 including the sale value of Reynolds Hardware, would go to the Eloise Whitmore Memorial Scholarship Fund for children of blue-collar workers. 40% would fund my retirement. My daughters would inherit nothing. Beaumont slid the papers across his desk. Sign here, here, and here. I signed. There's no going back from this, Thad. I know. The Thursday, September 26th, I became a spy in my own home. I waited until Margot and Silas left for the movies. Then I opened the Amazon box, a 6-camera Nest Cam IQ security system. I'd never been good with technology, but YouTube tutorials are surprisingly detailed. One camera behind the bookshelf in the living room, one in the artificial fern in the hallway, one disguised inside a desk clock in the kitchen, 3 others strategically placed. A wise man doesn't just fight battles, my grandfather used to say. He prepares the battlefield. I was preparing. Monday, September 30th. I heard everything. The cameras had audio. I hadn't planned on eavesdropping, but when I heard Margot's voice through my laptop speakers, I couldn't help myself. 3 p.m. I was in my office, supposedly reviewing hardware invoices. On screen, Margot and Constance sat on my couch, drinking my coffee, eating my groceries. "So, when are you going to tell him about needing a new car?" Constance asked. My stomach dropped. "I don't know," Margot said. "He's been weird lately. Did you notice he's been avoiding me? Maybe he finally realized he's being used." Constance laughed. She actually laughed. "Oh, please. Dad's never going to say no to us. He's too guilty about Mom. Truth, did you know he gave us $35,000 for the house?" "What? Seriously?" "Yep. Didn't even hesitate once I brought up Mom's wishes." "Jesus, Constance, you're terrible. I prefer strategic. Besides, Dashiell's job at the tech firm fell through last year. We're drowning in credit card debt. Someone had to step up." "Is that why Dashiell's been so stressed?" "Among other things." Constance's voice dropped. "Don't tell Dad, but we're probably going to flip the house in a year. The market's hot. We'll make $80,000 easy." "So Dad's $35,000 is really just a business loan he doesn't know about?" "Exactly." They both laughed. I sat in my office, hands shaking. The laptop screen blurred. "Dad's going to die eventually," Margot continued. "Might as well enjoy the inheritance while he's alive, right?" "Girl, you are dark. I'm practical. Silas and I have been together over 3 years now. I'm thinking we'll just stay here until Dad, you know. Then we inherit half the house. Boom. Free real estate. You've thought this through. Someone has to. Dad's not going to live forever." I closed the laptop. The office was silent except for the ticking wall clock, a gift from Eloise on our 20th anniversary. Engraved, "Time spent with you is never wasted." But it was wasted, wasn't it? The soccer games, the dance recitals, the college tuition, the late-night phone calls when they had problems, the sacrifices Eloise and I made so they could have more than we did. All of it led to this. 2 daughters sitting on my couch, planning my death like vultures circling a dying animal. "What would you say, Eloise?" I whispered. I closed my eyes and imagined her voice, calm, measured, wise. "Thaddeus, this isn't your fault. Well, not entirely. We loved them too much. We protected them from consequences. We taught them that tears could turn into dollars, that manipulation was just another word for affection. We raised them to see you not as a father, but as a resource to be extracted. I know. But you can still teach them. One last lesson, the most important one. Actions have consequences. It'll destroy what's left of our family. There's nothing left to destroy, darling. They already killed it." I sat there in the dark for an hour, the weight of 40 years pressed against my chest. 40 years of believing that love meant sacrifice, that being a good father meant saying yes. But Eloise had tried to warn me. 6 months before she died, she'd said, "Thaddeus, you're not helping them, you're crippling them." I didn't listen. I thought love meant saying yes. Now I understood. Real love sometimes means saying no, even when it hurts. especially when it hurts. I opened my laptop again, made a new folder, titled it Evidence. I downloaded the audio file of Margot and Constance's conversation. Time-stamped, date-stamped, crystal clear. Then I made another call. Tuesday, October 1st. I hired a forensic accountant, Vivian Chen. 45 years old, sharp-eyed, with a reputation for finding financial patterns that prosecutors loved. "Mr. Whitmore," she said, shaking my hand. "Beaumont speaks highly of you. What can I do?" "I need someone to look at my bank accounts, 5 years of transactions. Looking for something specific? A pattern." She smiled. "Patterns are my specialty." Thursday, October 3rd. Vivian presented her findings. She turned her laptop toward me. A spreadsheet. Color-coded highlights. "Mr. Whitmore, I've reviewed 5 years of your financial records. Joint accounts, credit cards, wire transfers, check deposits. You're right. There is a pattern." She tapped the screen. "Your daughter Constance has been transferring money from your joint savings account to her personal account every time a large deposit was made. Wedding gifts, business bonuses, tax refunds, like clockwork. How much total? $67,000 over 3 years. I felt the blood drain from my face. And Margot? Margot's pattern is more opportunistic. She requests transfers every month, always at the end, coinciding with credit card due dates. She's pulled approximately $42,000 over 3.5 years, not including the cost of her living here rent-free, which I estimate at another $31,000 in utilities, food, and housing value. So together, approximately $140,000 from you over 3 to 5 years. Vivian's expression hardened. "Mr. Whitmore, under California law, this behavior could qualify as financial elder abuse if you choose to pursue it." "Financial elder abuse," I repeated slowly. "Yes, the illegal or improper use of an elder's funds, property, or assets. You're 67. They've systematically exploited your generosity with a documented pattern of behavior. A prosecutor would love this case." "I don't want to prosecute my daughters." "Then what do you want?" "I want them to understand that I'm not a bank. I'm their father, and I'm done being robbed by the people I raised." Vivian nodded. "Then we build a case, document everything, and when you're ready, we move." Saturday, October 5th, Constance called. "Dad, hi, I was thinking." "Dashiell and I are looking at new cars. The Honda has 140,000 miles and it's making weird sounds. I found a great lease deal on an Audi Q5, only $650 a month. Could you help with the down payment? Just $4,500. 3 days ago, I would have said yes. No. Silence. "What?" "I said no, Constance." "Dad, are you feeling okay? You sound weird." "I feel fine. The answer is no." "But the car is a safety issue. You don't want me driving around in something dangerous, do you? Your Honda is fine. You're 36 years old with an $85,000 salary. If you need a new car, buy one yourself." "Dad, what's gotten into you?" "Clarity." I hung up. Monday, October 7th, I hired a private investigator, Marcus Deering, ex-police detective. I gave him one job, background check on Silas Brennan. "How deep do you want me to go?" Marcus asked. "Criminal history, employment history, everything." "You got it." Wednesday, October 9th. Marcus delivered his report. We met at a diner on Route 9. He slid a manila folder across the table. "Your daughter's boyfriend is bad news, Mr. Whitmore." I opened the folder. Police reports, court documents, employment termination notices. Silas Brennan, age 35, fired from his last 3 jobs, twice for insubordination, once for suspected embezzlement that couldn't be proven, 2 arrests for domestic disturbance with previous girlfriends. Both cases dropped when the women refused to testify. Marcus tapped the last page. He's currently under investigation for credit card fraud. Jesus. You've been housing this guy for how long? 3 years. Mr. Whitmore, men like Silas don't just go away quietly. If you're planning to kick him out, you need protection. Legal protection, a restraining order, police presence during eviction. You think he'd hurt me? I think he's been playing your daughter for 3 years so he could live rent-free. When that gravy train stops, he's going to be angry, and angry men with domestic violence histories don't usually walk away peacefully. Our Thursday, October 10th, Beaumont filed for a temporary restraining order. Judge Campbell reviewed the background check and the recorded threats. What threats? I interrupted. Beaumont pulled out a transcript from the camera audio. From October 3rd, Silas Brennan, speaking to Margot in your kitchen. If your old man ever tries to kick me out, I'll make him regret it. I've dealt with landlords before. I didn't remember hearing that. I must have missed it while reviewing footage. Judge Campbell granted the temporary order, Beaumont continued. It's effective immediately. If Silas Brennan comes within 100 yards of you, he can be arrested. What about Margot? Margot isn't violent, but we can file an eviction notice for both of them under California Civil Code Section 1946-5, eviction of unauthorized occupants. How long will that take? With the restraining order? 72 hours from service of notice. Do it. Friday, October 11th, the night before. I stood in the garage one last time before everything changed. Tomorrow, I would serve the eviction notice. Tomorrow, I would confront my daughters with everything I knew. Tomorrow, I would burn down the illusion that had sustained our family for 40 years. I picked up my framing hammer, the same one I'd used to hang the sign for Reynolds Hardware in 1983. 41 years ago, I believed that hard work created legacy, that sacrifice created gratitude, that love created loyalty. I was wrong about all of it. But I'd been right about one thing. A man's worth isn't measured by what he gives away, but by what he refuses to give to those who don't deserve it. Stoicism, Beaumont had said. The Greeks believed real strength comes from controlling your own reactions, not controlling other people. I didn't need Greek philosophy. I just needed to be brave enough to say no, to set a boundary, to prove that at 67 years old, I could still defend my own dignity. Tomorrow, I would fight, not with violence, not with rage, but with something more permanent, consequences. I set down the hammer. Tomorrow, everything changes. Saturday, October 12th, 6 p.m., the last dinner. I set the table for 5, good china, the silverware Eloise and I received as wedding gifts. Candles. Margot came downstairs first. Dad, what's all this? Family dinner. I invited Constance and Dashiell too. Why? Because we need to talk. Silas appeared behind her, suspicious. Talk about what? You'll see. By 6:30, everyone had arrived. Constance and Dashiell sat across from Margot and Silas. I took the head of the table. Beaumont Keller sat at the other end. I'd asked him to be present as a witness. Dad, why is your lawyer here? Constance asked nervously. I placed a manila envelope on the table. 4 weeks ago, I began, I received photographs of Dashiell kissing another woman in a hotel parking lot. September 14th. The Meridian downtown, room 314. Constance went pale. Dashiell's face turned red. I can explain, Dashiell started. No need, I cut him off. 2 weeks ago, I heard you, Constance, and you, Margot, discussing your plans to enjoy my inheritance while I'm still alive. You called me a walking ATM. You joked about my death. Margot's eyes widened. Dad, we were just... You were planning to use me until I died, then split my estate. I opened the envelope and pulled out documents. This is a forensic accounting report showing that between the two of you, you've extracted $140,000 from me over the past 5 years through systematic manipulation. That's not... Constance tried. Shut up. I'd never used that tone with my daughters before. They both flinched. I slid papers toward each of them. Margot, Silas, this is a 72-hour eviction. Notice. You have 3 days to vacate my property. A locksmith will change the locks on Tuesday morning. Silas, there's also a restraining order preventing you from coming within 100 yards of me due to your history of violence and your recorded threats. Silas stood up. You can't. Sit down. Beaumont's voice was steel. Or I'll call the sheriff right now. Silas sat. I turned to Constance and Dashiell. Constance, this is a lawsuit filing. I'm suing you and Dashiell for fraud and misrepresentation regarding your wedding. I paid $52,000 for a marriage you knew was a lie. I'm seeking $38,000 in damages, 73% of wedding costs, minus expenses for genuine guests. Dad, you can't be serious. Constance's voice broke. Do I look like I'm joking? Silence. All of you used me, I continued, my voice steady despite the rage burning in my chest. You saw a lonely old man grieving his wife and you turned him into a piggy bank. You invoked Eloise's memory to guilt me into paying for your lives. You treated my home like a free hotel. You treated my love like a transaction. We didn't mean, Margot whispered. Yes, you did. I stood up. I raised you. I sacrificed everything for you. And you repaid me with betrayal. This isn't just family drama. It's systematic financial abuse. You wanted to treat me like a fool? Fine. You wanted your sweet revenge on my wallet? Now taste your own medicine. Some people call this sweet revenge. I call it justice. You face the consequences. I walked toward the door, then turned back. Get out of my house, all of you. Sunday, October 13th. Police supervision. 2 sheriff's deputies stood in my driveway while Margot and Silas packed their belongings. Boxes, suitcases, the detritus of 3.5 years of freeloading. Silas glared at me the entire time. You're going to regret this, old man. One deputy stepped forward. Sir, you're already in violation of the restraining order by speaking to Mr. Whitmore. I suggest you finish packing. Margot cried the whole time. Dad, please. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't respond. I stood on my porch with my arms crossed and watched them load the U-Haul. By 4 p.m., they were gone. The locksmith arrived at 4:30. 6 new locks, Rekide deadbolts, security upgrade for the garage door. I went inside my house, my quiet, empty house, and sat in the living room. Silence. For the first time in 3.5 years, I had silence. A Monday, October 14th. Constance tried to negotiate. She called from a blocked number. I let it go to voicemail. Dad, please. Dashiell and I want to settle. We can't afford a lawsuit. Just call me back, please. I deleted the message. Beaumont called an hour later. Constance's lawyer reached out. They want to settle for $28,000. They're claiming emotional distress and that the wedding served a legitimate purpose despite Dashiell's infidelity. Counter at $38,000, not a penny less. They won't agree. Then we go to court. I have photographs, audio recordings, a forensic accounting report. Let a jury decide. Beaumont chuckled. You've gotten ruthless, Thad. No, I corrected. I've gotten honest. Wednesday, October 16th. They settled. Constance and Dashiell agreed to $38,000. They'd have to liquidate savings, take out a loan, and each pay their own legal fees, roughly $8,500 per attorney. Total cost to them, $55,000. Beaumont called with the news. The check will clear by Friday. Good. Thad, are you sure about this? These are still your daughters. My daughters died the day they decided to plan my estate before I was in it. I hung up and walked to the window. Outside, the maple trees Eloise and I planted swayed in the October wind. 35 years of growth, 35 years of roots going deep. Some things endure, some things don't. I'd spent 40 years believing that family was forever. That blood meant loyalty, that love could overcome anything. But I'd learned the hard way. You can't force people to value you. You can only choose to value yourself. And sometimes, the bravest thing a man can do is walk away from the people who refuse to see him. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." I didn't want revenge. I wanted my dignity back, and dignity doesn't shout, it sets boundaries. 6 months later, April 2025. I sold Reynolds Hardware for $1.2 million. After 41 years, I closed the doors for the last time, said goodbye to my employees, and walked away from sawdust and steel shavings forever. 60% of the sale, $720,000, went into the Eloise Whitmore Memorial Scholarship Fund. It'll send 20 kids from working-class families to trade school over the next decade. Plumbers, electricians, HVAC technicians, the jobs that keep society running while everyone else chases white-collar dreams. The remaining 40% funds my retirement. I bought a small condo near the coast. 2 bedrooms, ocean view, quiet neighbors who don't want anything from me except an occasional wave. Constance and Dashiell divorced in March. The legal fees destroyed their savings. The $38,000 settlement to me, plus $17,000 in attorney fees between them. $55,000 total gone. Their dream house never happened. The down payment money evaporated into lawyer bills and a marriage that lasted less than 8 months. Constance moved in with Dashiell's mother in Sacramento. The irony isn't lost on me. The daughter who used her father's grief now lives under her ex-mother-in-law's roof, dependent once again. Dashiell dated the woman from the photographs for 3 months. It ended badly, according to Lenora, who still has friends in their social circle. Last week, Constance sent an email. "Dad, I'm sorry. I know you'll never forgive me, but I need you to know I understand now what we did to you. I was selfish and cruel. I don't expect you to respond. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry." I read it twice. I didn't respond. Not out of cruelty, not out of spite, but because forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. I can wish her well from a distance. I can hope she learns from this, but I won't return to a relationship built on exploitation. Some bridges once burned should stay ashes. Silas left Margot 2 months after the eviction. Once the free housing was gone, so was he. Moved in with another woman within 3 weeks. Margot found out through Instagram. She works as a cashier at Walmart now. Lives in a studio apartment for $800 a month. Her photography business, the one that was always about to take off, is gone. The Instagram account that used to showcase her artistic vision hasn't been updated in 4 months. In March, a handwritten letter arrived. "Dad, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even forgive myself. You were right about everything. Silas was using me. Constance was using you. And I was too blind and selfish to see it. I don't know if I'll ever have the chance to make this right, but I promise I'm trying to be better. I got a second job. I'm saving money. I'm learning what real work feels like. I wish it hadn't taken losing you to learn this lesson. Love, Margot." I keep the letter in my desk drawer. I read it sometimes, usually late at night, when the ocean outside my window sounds like breathing. I haven't responded to that either. Maybe one day, but not today. Today, I choose me. Lenora Hastings and I have coffee every Tuesday morning. We don't date, not officially, but we talk. About Eloise, about our kids, about the strange relief that comes from surviving your own illusions. She lost her husband to a heart attack 6 years ago. She understands what it's like to rebuild a life from grief. Last month, I started learning guitar. Badly. My fingers are too stiff, my timing is off, but I'm 67 years old and I'm learning something for myself. Not for legacy, not for approval. For me. I volunteer at the local food bank on weekends, sorting cans, loading boxes, Manual labor that reminds me who I am, not what I can give, but what I can do. Am I happy? That's not the right question. I'm at peace. And for a man who spent 40 years chasing everyone else's approval, peace is a revolution. Last Tuesday, over coffee, Lenora asked if I ever regretted my decision. No, I said. I regret not making it sooner. She smiled. Eloise would be proud of you, Thad. Maybe. Or maybe she'd tell me I should have listened to her 20 years ago. Both can be true. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the morning fog roll off the ocean. Two people who'd lost everything and found something better. Themselves. Legacy isn't about what you leave behind. It's about what you refuse to let be taken from you. For 40 years, I believed my worth was measured in dollars given, sacrifices made, problems solved. I believed that being a good father meant never saying no, never disappointing, never demanding respect in return for love. I was wrong. A man's worth isn't measured by what he gives, but by what he refuses to give to those who don't deserve it. My daughters may never understand that. They may spend the rest of their lives believing I was cruel, vindictive, unforgiving. They may tell their friends I'm a heartless old man who abandoned his family over money. Let them. I know the truth. And the truth is this. You can't save people who don't want to be saved. You can only save yourself. I saved myself. And at 67 years old, standing on a balcony overlooking the Pacific Ocean, guitar calluses forming on my fingers, coffee cooling in my hand, I finally understand what Eloise meant when she said, "Thaddeus, love without boundaries isn't love, it's surrender." I'm done surrendering. I'm done being the wallet. I'm done being the backup plan. I'm just done. And in that ending, I found a beginning. This is my inheritance. Not money, not property. Peace. Hard won, hard earned. Worth every dollar I didn't give away. Worth every relationship I let die. Worth everything.